Hare Krishna. It's a really, really rainy day in New Bajadam. There's a song called Rainy Day in Georgia. Well, it's a rainy day in New Bajadam. And looks like it's going to be like that tomorrow as well. Let's answer, go through a series of questions briefly and then get to the main question. Uh, Aditi Devi Dasi says, I'd like to have more information about the rules of Grihastha in ISKCON. I've been a member of the society for 18 years, but I need to know what to do if Mataji has trouble with the Vaishnav ex-wife of her husband. Who can we approach? She wants to know who she can approach. Well, my first question to that is what it means to be a member of ISKCON. I'm not going to belabor at that point, but devotees should expect service from the society to the degree of their commitment. I don't know which Aditi Devi Dasi this is, but in any case, the best consultation in this regard, unless there's some real activity that affects the overall devotee community, is one's own counselor, guide. Should you go to the poor GBC, I would suggest to try to spare him from such a chore. Try to work it out with others. There is also a Grihastha ministry in ISKCON that may be available online for advice. But and now this isn't just to Aditi, but just in general. But only one should only ask for advice if he's and expect advice if he's really part of the advice-giving system. Otherwise, it's sort of unfair to expect services when either service hasn't been rendered or one's not is part of a service rendering process. A Bhakta Agi is asking, to what extent is free will free will? And not answering that question of hers, but rather using it to make a point. And that is that this is a subject that I remember having answered quite a few times just recently. The devotees who are kind enough to ask such questions shouldn't be offended if, because it's too repetitious, I just refer them to our search machine and or tag cloud, and they can look in there to see some previous podcasts, because there are, aside from that, many hundreds of other devotees who may say, well, I just heard about that recently, so why again? And that's why I'm not answering that right now. And request Aggie to go to the tag cloud and to search the podcast. But the Shailesh is asking, can a person not following the regulated principles keep Tulsi in his home and worship it daily? Always better to be following the regulated principles. In India, many people keep Tulsi Devi. Generally, they're Vaishnavas, but they may be Vaishnavas to different degrees of commitment. Some more, some less. When the policy that usually that I'm aware of that we put in place is that if people want to grow Tulsi Devi, then we give them seeds. Tulsi Devi wants to grow and stay, then that's her prerogative. However, people should be given advice and guidance as to how to continue to worship Tulsi in a way that's suitable for her. Because we shouldn't just take advantage of the leniency and the mercy of the Lord's associates. Like, for instance, Srila Prabhupada allowed us to, encouraged us to distribute little Gaura-Nitai deities to even non-devotees so that they would become devotees. But that doesn't mean that Vaishnavas should therefore engage in non-devotional activity because Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are very merciful. Rather, they should do them justice, do their kindness and mercy justice. The main question here is by Ananda Chaitanya, and I'll read it and then try to answer. I was reflecting today on how Rupa Goswami explains in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that we should be Ashabandha, always hopeful in Krishna consciousness. Also recently you were saying how when one begins to chant purely, Krishna gives prema according to his own sweet will. It could take but a minute or thousands of lifetimes. I would like to understand this in the context of Krishna's statement, Yejitamam Papadyante, which seems to suggest a more direct way of reciprocation. Is it right to say that Krishna reciprocates in different ways? Yes. According to the advancement of the devotee, that also. Or is there a deeper meaning to Yejitamam Prapadyante verse that I am missing? Is there a deeper meaning to the Yejitamam Prapadyante verse that you're missing? Yes. There are many, many deeper verses that you are missing, that Shivaram Swami is missing, and that so many other devotees are missing, because Krishna's intelligence is unlimited and our intelligence is very limited. So whatever we're going to understand of Krishna's words is also always going to be limited. And that's the wonder and joy of devotional service, that it will be always fresh and we will always get ever new and ever fresh meaning of Krishna's words. So yes, there's a lot that we're missing, but we shouldn't lament over that, but rather rejoice. I believe that the context in which I mentioned this thing about that it may take any length of time for Krishna to reciprocate with our efforts at achieving Bhava Bhakti is that Bhava Bhakti is not a consequence of our sadhana, particularly sadhana which is tainted by the material energy, because in lower stages one is still a conditioned soul. So no material tinged effort can be a result of pure transcendence, but rather all that can do is actually invoke the mercy of the Lord or the mercy of a devotee, who then Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma gives us his own Swarup Shakti, his own internal potency, and blesses us with that. And that may take any length of time. It doesn't necessarily say that it does, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't follow the principle of Jejitamam Prapadyante. However, there's another principle that Krishna also mentions. He says, Naham tu sakyo bhajato pijantum. When the gopis were questioning Krishna that why did you disappear? Why did you leave us here? And wanting to reciprocate with our desire to serve you. And Krishna says, because sometimes I don't immediately reciprocate. Krishna always reciprocates, but there's a question of what is the type of reciprocation, what is the time of reciprocation, and sometimes Krishna's reciprocation is that he doesn't reciprocate. In other words, his reciprocation is that he makes us hanker after something more. And that's why Krishna is explaining here to the gopis that sometimes I don't immediately reciprocate because it makes devotees want something even more and it matures their love for him. So same thing in the case of a advanced devotee who has developed attachment for Krishna. Krishna may withhold his Bhava Bhakti from that devotee in order to increase that devotee's desire more and more, so that the devotee hankers, and in Srila Prabhupada's words, that we learn how to cry for Krishna. And when we're actually crying for Krishna, then Krishna may bestow at his own sweet will. That's what sweet will means. 1 minute, 1 millennium. He bestows Bhava Bhakti, by which then